Are recording and we are live. We are being sent to YouTube. All righty tighty. Well, happy whatever day it is for you. It's noon here in good old Michigan, U.S.A. I am going to close this and open this. And thank you so much for sending the comments. I'm actually getting more business over at and through Rumble, and I am actually going to start leaving my Facebook page up there too, because I'm posting a few things up there. Not a lot, but definitely getting a few more contacts through that as well. So I hope everyone is doing well. Today is 28th of December, and it's been another interesting week. And I think I'm going to probably have to do some sort of etheric wisdom. I've been kind of toying with that just because this just comes out of nowhere, out of the ether. And this one, I feel like the only thing came through was today. Oh no, it was on the 20th. It was actually Christmas morning, 4 a.m. And my day job, the building that we work out of is owned by St. Michael's Church in my area, and the church, and then there's like a little administrative office, and then we're in what they were using as a school, and says it was built in the 1930s. You should go look up some of the videos on my lunch break on YouTube. He puts out some really cool stuff. But anyway, that's the kind of school setting I saw. I was walking in the hallways of a school, and I saw people. The suits were really weird. They looked like they were kind of like janitorial suits, but they had like, it was like a hazmat, but like out of janitorial fabric. And they had those blank things over their faces. Now, funny that a few days later, I saw someone who had done one of those videos. I saw it on a Facebook feed where somebody just did like a game where you interact. It was very realistic, the setting was, but obviously you could tell by the movement of the characters in these suits. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that reminds me of my dream, you know? Um, and they were cleaning, but I asked one of them how it made them feel wearing that outfit. And I actually said that it was their superiors that put them in it, required them to wear it. And they said they weren't happy. Does that speak volumes for our society and where we're working, right? We got to find our happy, you know what I mean? So I went inside, and there was this big gymnasium inside this room, and it was a big gymnasium, and the bright lights, but the bright lights were very like spotlit. They were like really intense, but only if you got into that light. And there were a few people, not many. I was fussing on my phone as I walked across, and I was thinking about taking some pictures or a video, and I thought it was probably not a good idea. And I had not yet put my phone away, and I saw a guy out of the corner of my eye. He was fairly young, dark haired, had one of those professional cameras, had a really big, lens on it. And he grabbed my arm really hard, and he says, "What do you think you're doing?" And I said, "Let go of me." And yeah, he was probably in his late 20s. He pulled me up. I think I was getting ready to like sit down. "What do you think you're doing?" The other thing that the young, yeah, I say I had permission to have. All right, so then another man came up. He was probably about the same age, in their 30s, early 30s, but this guy was more aggressive. He came up and he put his hand on the back of my neck and he held on really hard. And I thought that I said, get your hands off of me. And I wasn't yelling or anything. I kept saying it. I was definitely angry and in a kind of a sarcastic voice. Said, well, isn't that something we usually hear or something that's usually said? Um, I don't know why it was important to note that he had really close, short hair. He was kind of balding, receding hairline. His hair was really short. I don't know why that was important, but I got closer to the door and I left the gym and I kept saying, get your hands off of me. And I kept thinking to myself as we're walking towards this door, and I think this is the linchpin why this whole scenario played out. The thought ran through my head, they're actually going to carry the scare tactic out. And I don't remember what the guy up front was saying. He was sitting at a table. There may have been one other person. He was talking, and there were a few people in the seats, and they were kind of like listening, obviously, but they weren't like intent. They were like fidgeting and doing things. It was a very kickback feeling, which kind of surprised me that that guy was so aggressive. Um, it was something that was going to be staged, and it was very local, and that I felt like it was going to be posted nationally. So this was like the planning. So I think there's still a lot of planning. There are little blips and blurbs that's going to come out. And here's the thing that when I read this morning again, so 3 days later, there are going to be a lot of deceived people, but I think the majority of humanity is going to get really ticked off if something like this happens, meaning a great deception and, pushing people to do things that they don't realize that they're reacting to a fake, banner. You know what I mean? Um, Especially if it happens soon, ringing in my ear. So yeah, that's basically all I got. I think the thing is trying to keep an even keel, and when something starts to get our attention, think about what it is that they're trying to get our attention about. I posted a video on Rumble with Augie about a whole drone thing and the alien thing, and the one guy commented that he's made a couple of comments, or she, I don't know, something like there are no aliens. And the last thing they said was stupid people. And I thought, well, that's not good because everybody's trying to figure out what this is and what's real and what's not real. They were claiming that their whole premise for feeling justified to make those statements was that they were U.S.A. Well, you could be brainwashed just like everybody else. So that's where we need to develop our discernment. And there are a lot of people that are in the U.S.A. that are saying that there are UFOs and that they have seen them and that they are not from the United States. However, I did see another guy. See, this is how the whole story gets muddied. Another guy, he was saying, well, we've been working with lasers and we can do holograms and we can make people think that they're seeing, spaceships, crafts, etc. So one thing too, and that just, okay. So not being deceived and making sure that you pull the emotion out of it and try to that's where your discernment's going to come in. Because I know when I get wound up, I kind of lose sight of what's really going on. You kind of draw that in and you reduce your ability to discern or make a good judgment call when you start getting flustered. Um, So one of the things that I also saw, and one of the reasons that we might be struggling with discernment, is that the scientist was saying that they find amber, which is ancient tree sap, and they're finding air bubbles in this tree sap, and they're pulling samples out of those little air pockets. What's interesting is they're saying that the oxygen levels, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go look this up. I can't remember if he said it was 23 or 33% more oxygen, but I do remember he did say this, if it was that much higher, our life would be very exciting and plants would grow bigger. He even gave examples of labs that were doing growth studies with that increased oxygen level. So testing it, they had to put all kinds of bracing on the plants because obviously they're growing much better, which is why when we look at some of the fossils, the animals and the plants are much bigger. Calciprese. So anyway, so for that discernment, let's have a look at what maybe we need to do to have discernment, and not even necessarily what do we need to look out for or what do we need to expect as far as specific events. But this is an internal preparation for external events. So I guess that's kind of how I'm going to look at it, or how I'm being told to have a look at this. So I am going to switch over to the other camera. It's going to twitch a few times, and then we should be good to go. So I've already shuffled the cards. I am also moving my microphone to go with me, so hopefully the sound quality will not be too changed, because I do have to move kind of away from that. But I have already shuffled the cards. And we'll attempt to get this mouse to work properly, which it is not. There we go. All right. So here I am. I am going to take a wee sip of my coffee. And I put a little sweet orange in there. So I've already meditated on the cards and cleared the space. And I appreciate anybody and everybody who leaves the comments. Preferably constructive ones. I get it. You know, not everybody's going to agree, but it would be nice to hear a few more positives. Again, don't be so frickin' crabby. And I'm really getting like a high pitch noise, and it's up to the left and to the back. I mean, it's like really up that way. What is what we need to know? What can we pull from the wisdom of the ether? Since we are all one, we are not all of one mind, it seems. We are of all one origin. Yeah, I know. I'm hearing things that people don't agree with. The cards, some of the things that I've had to go through, you know, they wouldn't approve of that either. But hey, I have to be cryptic with that at this point. But if you don't like what you see or what you watch, if you can't say something constructive and uplifting and positive, I could give you example of that individual who left the really negative way to look at it. If you disagree with someone, that's fine. You could say, hey, I disagree with you, and maybe give some of your, not anecdotal, but maybe some of your evidence. Right? That's kind of important. So moving forward, what can we do to prepare ourselves for the coming onslaught of deception and confusion, where we need to amplify and clarify our discernment? We need clear heads for this. And this is from the ether. This is from the ether's wisdom. This is all truth and unvarnished. So let's see what happens. Oh yeah, there's some chaos there. There's some chaos. Some disappointment. So what would we be disappointed about? I mean, are we going to be disappointed within ourselves? Or are we going to be disappointed with others or events or outcomes? You know what I mean? I just feel like there's this disappointment. Oh dear. And it is part of the transformation. There are a lot of changes coming up, and they're going to be unexpected, and we're going to have the mind of a child. Right? Two of Cups. This is where not only are we going to have to bind within our own selves, we're going to have to, oh gosh, we're going to have, what did I say? I was just about to say we're going to have to ground ourselves. So the Queen of Earth, she is a very grounded lady, right? Very earthy, very grounded. She's also very much in touch with what she knows. Yeah, she has a very well developed, intuition, which that's where this transformation, this is what we're transforming into. It's going to be a haul. And I think what's interesting, that this is a 9 of fire, which is the wands, right? So this is the wounded warrior. This is something that we're going to have to stay true to ourselves and not become discouraged, right? What can we do to help facilitate expanding and getting closer to this grounded side of ourselves? Because again, if we are all one, we are all one. Whatever we do affects the other. That's why it's important that even with our thoughts, radiate out. And when you look at that ripple in a pond, when you drop a pebble, you're only seeing what's on the surface. You're not aware of the unseen effects of what goes on above where you dropped it, and think about what goes on under the surface. And one is not separate from the other, but there is that cause and effect, right? So think about we have to think about what our thoughts are. And I think picking your battles and jotting things down and then coming back to them, writing them down and coming back to them is going to be important. And that's how we're going to stay protected. This is kind of a weird card because I feel like, geez Louise, it looks, I'm sorry. It looks like look at the unalive person at the bottom. Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but I do, but I don't, because if you understand what death is, I'm just gonna set that. I'm not done with that. I am gonna have to look at that. So the one that stands and watches over us, that's what we have. We have the ability to reach out at any time for protection and guidance. I mean, we can ask for signs, but I think inside, we shouldn't need signs really unless we have a question or a doubt. And that gets on kind of rocky ground for me. If you are unsure, I would ask for help. And keep an open dialogue with yourself, with others. It's gonna and don't get too much in your head. Don't overburden yourself. Remember that there's two that are one. That's kind of it for that. What else can we do to kind of help? Put on the full armor. You know, sometimes we have the armor, either it's at our feet, or if we have it, we don't realize it, and we can kind of flinch and cause ourselves some injury with that. All right, so that kind of answers the question then. One of the ways that we can realize that we do have the armor, we do have the protection, we are in the process of that transformation, is that we are able to express our appreciation, showing grateful, not just within ourselves, but holding a door for someone, speaking gratitude to someone. I found myself last night, I went to a fundraiser last night, and I found myself, it was just totally natural. Someone was struggling to get out the door with some packages, and behind them came this string of people. And every one of them that walked out that door said thank you. And it was just kind of odd because I'm not, usually I'd stand there in a position to allow the next person to take the door, because I feel like we all need to be responsible for what goes on in our heads. But one of the ways that we can do that is show the appreciation that we are protected, not bringing attention to any weaknesses we feel we might have, because people don't see us the way we see ourselves. This is really short. All righty. One more. Okay, so this is the general energy. What it is that we can be looking forward to when we do these things for our highest outcome. This is the frequency of emergence, and it invites us to approach our reality with a childlike attitude. Child. Don't see any other children here. Well, she's quite young, but not a child. But anyway, childlike attitude of innocence and wonderment, and watch and celebrate the beauty that unfolds from our place. Well, I like that. That was emergence. That is the frequency of emergence. I'd like to thank everybody for leaving a comment, stopping by, having a quick look, and live your life in a dynamic way. Like, share, subscribe, reach out if you would like to receive some additional assistance. If I can't help you with some of your life goals, I can certainly help you try and find someone who will. Thank you so much, and many blessings to all.